Hi guys, welcome, and as always, thank you for spending your time with me. I'm starting today's video before Prince Philip's memorial and will take a break to watch it, and therefore this video will come out after the memorial. However, I will comment on the memorial itself some other time. In today's video, I want to comment mostly on your comments, starting with the Oscars. I know many of you feel that my lackluster response to Will Smith slapping Chris Rock was not exactly appropriate, but I went and examined my response, and here is why I felt that way. Firstly, typical woman, I scoured the internet for Oscar fashions, and yes, there were some beautiful outfits, but there were others that made me vomit in my mouth a little. What was Venus Williams thinking? That we are all in desperate need to examine her nipples? What about Chloe and Halle Bailey? Has no one ever educated them in how unhealthy it is to go without your panties? And Tracy Ellis Ross, whose bra cups were at least 2 sizes too small. Yeah, so there was that. Women who do not respect their own bodies do not respect anything or anyone else, in my humble opinion. And personally, I would rather take the time to explain to my grandson why it was wrong of Will Smith to slap Chris Rock than having to explain to him why it is not healthy or sanitary for a woman to walk around without certain pieces of underwear in public. And then, prior to the slap, co-host Regina Hall thought it was okay to drag 4 male celebrities she liked on stage and subjected them to some disgusting sexual narrative, saying nonsense like, I'm going to swab the back of your mouth with my tongue and then we're going to do some freaky stuff. And if that was not enough to make you gag, she continued the joke by patting down 2 male presenters, even touching their inner thighs, etc. Now, in my humble opinion, remember, this is my personal opinion, this woman needed a slap. And it is likely that if I was married to one of those men, she would have been slapped, maybe not on stage, but very likely afterwards. And if I was one of those men, I would have laid a charge of sexual harassment against her. Can you guys imagine what would have happened if a man made those remarks to a woman, and if a man had touched women like that without their consent, whether in public or privately? He would most likely have spent the night in jail and would have been condemned by every newspaper, and quite rightly so. But, ladies and gentlemen, if it is equal rights you want, then it should be equal rights you get. What is good for the goose is good for the gander, and Regina Hall should be equally condemned for her actions and behavior. Okay, so Will Smith slapped Chris Rock. Not acceptable behavior, not in public, not for an adult, well, not acceptable behavior at all. And I agree that he should bear the consequences, whatever that may be. Whether he loses his Oscar or loses a future role, actions have consequences. However, I am not ready to condemn Will Smith as an actor or human being. From what I read, he is one of the nicest guys in show business. From what I read, he is not in the best of marriages, with rumors of Jada being controlling, of her having had affairs, including a possible affair with Chris Rock. And now she has health issues, which could likely cause an escalation in bad behavior as she becomes more insecure. Then it must also be said that Chris Rock has made numerous on-stage and off-stage remarks about Will and Jada, dating all the way back to 2016. And he has not stopped since. No, I do not approve of Will's reaction, but I can very well imagine the reasoning behind it, and I'm willing to accept that anyone can make a mistake, regret it, and be forgiven for it, particularly when the mistake is due to heightened emotion after being pushed and prodded for years. Suffice it to say, I'm going to try to maintain my sense of decorum and not go into offensive remarks made by some of the presenters and award winners. But there were remarks like white people trying to understand black Twitter and referring to toxic masculinity. So, yeah, forgive me if I'm inclined to forgive Will Smith. Then I had an interesting online discussion with one of my subscribers about Harry's mental health. What is becoming more obvious is how isolated Harry is becoming. Yes, we saw him with Eugenie at the Super Bowl, and apparently he was seen recently at a restaurant with two other men. However, we do not know whether the Super Bowl was a publicity stunt or just happenstance. Maybe they just had free tickets, so they went. What we have not seen is Harry in a family setting with his wife and children, say, for instance, enjoying a day on the beach. He made such a fuss over putting his son on the back of a bike, yet we have not seen him do that. They have not been caught or photographed doing shopping with the children or going to Disneyland for that matter. But on the other hand, it is also clear that Harry's paranoia is growing and intensifying. Yet, it is also clear that he does not really know where to hang the bell. One minute he can't go to England due to security, and the next he's off to the rodeo without royal security. None of this makes sense at all. And I have a feeling that it does not make sense to Harry either. And then comes the big question that I was asked: how fragile is Harry's mental health really? And let's assume that he is as fragile and sensitive as he is coming across with these frivolous lawsuits. Now, can anything be done about it? And the shocking answer is no. Harry is an adult who, on the surface, appears to be functioning relatively normally. He does not look sick, and he appears to be clean. No adult can be forcibly detained in a mental health institution unless they are a danger to others or themselves. So, as much as we may wish for Harry to be separated from his wife for a period of time so he can be debriefed, for lack of a better word, it will not happen unless or until or if or when he sinks to the lowest of the lowest depths and asks for help, or some incident occurs where he can be sectioned to a facility. I think I told you this story in one of my old videos. My ex-fiance landed himself in a facility because he left his workplace unexpectedly, took his clothes off, gave it to a beggar, walked naked into a restaurant, and started preaching the gospel. Now, other things which could result in being sectioned other than such bizarre behavior are things like attempted suicide, violence, etc. Okay, and then I am still 3 days after the fact reading commentary on William and Catherine's Caribbean tour, and it is in particular the overall ignorance about slavery which is now really irritating me. Firstly, slavery and politics has nothing to do with William and Catherine. Slavery was officially abolished in Britain in 1833 through the Slavery Abolition Act, which in fact also meant that not only were slaves set free in Britain, but in the entire realm. Now, at the time, the king had already apologized for Britain's part in the slave trade, and since then, each and every monarch, the royal family, had run charities and made contributions to many people and organizations in many different and poorer countries. What more could anyone want? What more could anyone expect? Does the ignorant actually know that Britain was not the first country to kidnap or trade or buy African slaves? No, Portugal was. Britain indeed abolished slavery in 1833, whereas the last country to officially abolish slavery was Mauritania in 1981. And horror upon horror, guess what? Slavery is still happening. And guess where? Right here in Africa. Instead of harassing a young man who is doing his best to be respectful in at least acknowledging the existence and evil of slavery, the media is continuing this negative woke narrative instead of looking into and coming up with a solution for modern day slavery. Human trafficking, which is indeed so rife between the Americas and Mexico, is just another form of slavery. Why not talk about that? And the media should investigate and bring attention to that instead of harping on every word and nuance of every word William spoke. Stop this nitpicking. It is not helping anybody, least of all those victims of modern day slavery and human trafficking. William had the common sense to know that he has no control over what another country's people will vote for, but he had the decency to offer his support and friendship regardless. Now, okay, guys and girls, tomorrow I may be caught up in some private business, and if I'm not home early enough, there won't be a video. But don't worry, I already have a couple of things lined up for you for the day after. So until we meet again on the next video, take good care of yourselves. Bye.